What's up, guys? Today we're going to show you how to set up a MIG machine or flux core machine so that we can weld the proper way. So first off, we have some wire on here, some flux core wire, but we don't want to use that. So I'm going to show you guys how to take off the flux core wire and how to set up the MIG wire. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our gun. Now whenever somebody's been welding, it normally forms a ball on the end of the wire. So what we want to do is take our welders, cut that ball off so that we can spool this wire back up on the spool. Then we're going to release the tensioner on the rollers. After we release the tensioner, we're going to keep one hand on the wire so that it doesn't bird's nest, and we're going to spool the wire with the other hand. That way we don't waste any of this wire, have any of that wire in our scrap bin. We're going to take our time, spool that back up on there so it can be used again later on. Stick our wire through the roll, bend it back over so it doesn't bird's nest, unclip the roll. We're going to set it to the side for later use. Now, we're going to check out our machine, make sure we have our rollers and everything set up before we put on the MIG wire. So if you guys come over here and check this out, we're going to look at our rollers. So the first thing with the rollers, we want to take the cover off so that we can get to them. Cover's off. We can now lock or unlock these rollers by twisting these locks. So we want to unlock them so we can take them off. And we're going to take one of these rollers off, and they have different sizes to them. Now this one was set up for 045 flux core wire, but here at Drake we run 035 MIG wire, so we're going to flip it over to the 035 side. Whatever side is facing out is the side that you're using. So we're going to get both of these rollers switched to 035, get them locked back into place. Now that we got the right rollers in, we're ready to set the wire up and get started. Before we set the wire up, we talked about polarity before in the theory, but we're going to show you guys how to set polarity on the actual machine. So what we do is we take a crescent wrench and we would loosen these lugs, and we have a positive and a negative terminal on this machine. We just loosen the lugs up, swap them out. As we can see, the rollers where the wire is being fed is hooked to the positive side, and the ground clamp or workpiece clamp is hooked to the negative side. This is set up for DCEP, direct current electrode positive, which is what we need to weld MIG wire. So our polarity is already set. Right now we're going to set up our MIG wire in the machine. As you can see, the rollers are set at a slight angle upwards, so that means our wire needs to feed off the top of the roll. Got the roll on there. We're going to put the clip on so it doesn't come off. It's locked into place. Get our wire here. We're going to clip this crooked part off of it. Want that wire good and straight so it'll flow into the machine good. Get the wire fed into the rollers. Now we're going to feed the wire all the way into the gun. Want to feed it in there a foot or so, that way it doesn't catch up on anything. Then we're going to set the tensioner back down on the rollers so that they can grab that wire and feed it through the machine. And on this particular machine we have a cover that goes back on. Now this is a Lincoln electric machine. All machines are basically the same. They may look a little bit different. Certain machines may have a wire feeder on top. We have some Miller machines here that have dual rollers, so there's actually 4 rollers in it instead of 2. But it's all the same principle, all the same stuff, so you can use this same technique on any machine in the shop. Now that we have the tension set, the wire is fed into the gun, we're going to grab our gun. We're going to keep it kind of straight so that wire can flow through it easily. But we want to take our nozzle off and our contact tip off. That way there's nothing to hang up this wire as it feeds through. We're just going to pull the trigger, let this machine spool the wire through. Sometimes it takes a minute. So these are all things we gotta do every day when we get here, make sure our machine's set up the right way, make some quality welds. As you can see, the wire's fed through the gun now. So now we want to pick the correct size tip. We're using 035 wire, so we have to use an 035 contact tip. Get our contact tip on there. Get a good clean nozzle and put on there. Now while we're here, we're going to talk about stick out. Stick out's how far this wire is from the inside contact tip. Now when we're MIG welding, we want to have about an 1/8 inch stick out. That is between a 1/4 and an 1/8 inch stick out. That's what we want when we're MIG welding. Now other processes are going to use a little bit longer stick out, but that's how far we're going to keep that gun away from the metal the whole time we're welding. So we got the wire set through, we got the rollers set up on the right size, all your consumables on the right size, wires fed through, we're ready to weld with this thing. Now we also have to get our shielding gas set up. And a little bit later on we're going to talk about the different shielding gases. This particular machine is set up on a bank system, so we just have to turn on the ball valve to have gas. Some machines might have a gas cylinder on them, but we're going to show you guys how to set those up a little bit later on. But we've already got the gas turned on this machine, so it's ready to weld. Everything's pretty much set, so now we got to pick our actual parameters, what we set our wire feed speed on and our amperage. So all machines pretty much have a good general idea of what to pick out. You just pick what size wire you have, what type wire, what size, and it gives you an estimated setting on the thickness of metal you're using. So we actually plug that in and get a ballpark setting to go from. Now we're going to actually teach you guys how to set up any machine and how to make quality welds with different settings. So that's something that'll come with time and be hands-on. So we got one more thing before we end. We want to be able to set the tension on these rollers. As you guys can see, it has a scale here. That gives us a pretty good idea. Cord wires versus solid wires versus aluminum wires. But we're going to show you how to set it. If you didn't have this scale at all, you can walk up to any machine and set the tension. Now this tensioner will adjust up or down. Down puts more pressure on the rollers, up releases pressure. So how you set a machine, pretty simple. You grab your gun, you spool a little bit of wire out, and you bend that wire over. You then put the wire to the palm of your hand. If that wire will spool out like so, we have enough tension for this machine to weld successfully. Now if that wire will not spool out, it sits your hands and stops, we need to tighten that tension down. So that way if you don't have a scale on your particular machine, you can walk up to any machine in any shop, set the tension. Again, this all got to be done every day before we start welding. If we don't do this stuff, it's going to be tough to make some quality welds. With that being said, that's it for today. You guys should be able to set up a MIG machine.